If you guys could see me, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or something. Smash the like button if you haven't done so already. I really need to figure out a way to get theme music on here. Thanks, Jeff. We're doing a simulcast. Stan the Man, welcome. We're doing a simulcast for you guys who are watching on Instagram. We're also streaming live on YouTube. And our good friend Ron says we sound good, so we're going to get going here. I do need theme music. I don't know how to work that in. Got to figure that out somehow. You'll see the Streamlabs logo here. It's a necessary evil for right now in order to keep this set up the way it is. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's be honest, gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is the pre-party for the NWA POWERRR, the Power Hour, and already you guys are already jumping in on the comments, and I love it. So thank you. Big show today because number one, we actually have an NWA Power episode to watch, which is great because last week was a little boring. I admit that 10 Pounds of Gold was a great way to build up the pay-per-view. I enjoyed it immensely. But I'll be honest, I missed NWA Power. 9 weeks of television with, I'll say, one really bad episode. I think for the most part, NWA Power did everything I was hoping it would do. Did you guys watch Into the Fire? I watched it. I liked it. We'll talk about that momentarily. Plus, we're going to talk about the new additions to the roster, because there are quite a few names who will be joining our friends at the NWA Power. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to our new subscribers on the YouTube channel. That would be Aaron Gibson, Jason LeVay, Steve Bryant, Reverend Ricky Fetters, and John Cassandro. Hey guys, thanks for subscribing. I genuinely appreciate your support. We are at 138 subscribers, and you know, it's awesome because the more you guys join us on this show, the more fun it is, the more interaction we get, and the show continues to grow. We're not as big as some of the other podcasts that are out there, but the Alliance blog has been podcasting about the National Wrestling Alliance for nearly 13 years now. In fact, actually longer than that, like 2009. So it's been a while. It's been a long while, and I'm glad you guys have been on board since some of you since day one. Some of you guys are still joining up, and I appreciate it. It's not much more I can say than that. So obviously the big news, and this isn't a spoiler because, well, if the NWA is sharing videos, then I can talk about it too. But the villain, Marty Scurll, joins the cast of characters, if you will, for the National Wrestling Alliance. Now, this was a big swerve to me. I don't know how many of you guys were actually predicting this or expecting this. I had no clue. I thought for sure that our villain would be on his way to All Elite Wrestling, WWE, NXT, or hell, even showing up in the return of Marty Scurll to the National Wrestling Alliance. And let's make it perfectly clear, he's here for one reason and one reason only, and that's a return bout for that NWA World Heavyweight Championship that he wrestled and unsuccessfully challenged for that title back at the Crockett Cup. It looks like a rematch is on the horizon. We don't know when, we don't know where, but it'd be safe to assume that it'll be on the pay-per-view that is actually going to be announced, or was announced at the last pay-per-view. I believe it was January 24th. I don't have that written down, so if you guys want to fact check me on that, I'd appreciate it. Now I'm going to take a second. I'm going to read some of your comments on both sides here. First, we're going to go to Jeff Meacham, who says, I absolutely love the 9 weeks of Power. Nice. The pre-show and the pay-per-view. Also a fan of yours since the early NWA Pro tape. Jeff, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. yeah, this has been something that I've loved for a while, and you know, you've been around the area, you've been in SoCal, we've been at plenty of tapings together, and of course, you know, this all predated my affiliation with SoCal Uncensored, not the stable, but the website, and yeah, I genuinely enjoy what Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana are doing right now. Will Bowen says, ODB is a great addition to the ladies wrestling division. Hopefully a shot at the NWA Women's World Championship. Yeah, she actually had a shot. ODB had a shot at the Women's World title. She actually challenged for it at the Modus Brewing Festival, and that was one of those matches that I think the NWA did not play their cards correctly. They could have had that on that bad episode of the NWA Power TV tapings, the episode 8 that left a bad taste in my mouth, and I know it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. They could have featured those matches from the Modest Brewery, and I really think they should have, but it didn't happen. How about these damn fans spoiling the NWA tapings? Stan, yeah, I mean, see, I see it from both sides, because if they're spoiling the show, that means they're excited about the show. If they're excited about the show, that means they're talking about the show. And ultimately, Billy and Dave need eyeballs on the product. Their their first episode of NWA Power had over 500,000 people watch it. Now that sounds great, but their top video right now is Nick Aldis versus James Ellsworth from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, with over 1 million people having watched that. Now granted, time kind of has a way of regulating things, but over 1 million views for that match, it turns out that they need more eyeballs on the content. Now, I'm sure the NWA will tell you that they're very happy with the people who are watching the pay-per-views and the amount of people who are watching the TV show every week, because they're averaging about 200,000 people watching weekly. But yeah, spoilers are a double-edged sword, because I don't like the show to be ruined. I try my best not to spoil anything. I did post the live results from the show, but I try not to spoil stuff. But sorry, Stan, I did spoil Marty. If I did post that on Instagram. Willie says, NWA Pro Wrestling and Power is awesome. I'm a loyal fan of NWA Pro Wrestling. Hey, you're in the right place then, Willie. We're all fans of the NWA here. We all enjoy the product, and we all are champions of the NWA. Ron says, I would never guess Scroll was NWA bound. Thought for sure he was going to head to AEW. You know, and it's funny because Cody addressed this today, oddly enough, and said, you know, whatever Marty's doing right now is he's just testing out the waters to see where a good fit is for him. He can't really comment more than that. I'm sure I don't know anything, guys. I'm not in the AEW war room. I have no idea what's going on. But I bet you dollars to donuts they're just waiting for an opportunity to sign Marty. And I don't know how these contracts works. I don't know if they can just offer dudes contracts whenever they become free agents, or if this is something that they can only sign guys at a certain window, or if Marty's just fielding offers from everybody, because, I mean, him going back to New Japan isn't a horrible deal. He can go there full time. I'm sure they would take him in a heartbeat. The WWE would be stupid if they weren't inquiring about him, at least trying to get him in NXT. AEW for sure, you know, Cody wants his buddy there, and I'm sure all of the Elite would like him to return. And then places like Impact Wrestling, why wouldn't they want Marty on their show? And so somewhere in all of that, the NWA comes in, and the NWA isn't a long-term commitment. It just isn't. You guys, I hate to break it to you if you don't know this, but the WWE, the Impacts, the New Japans of the world, the All Elite Wrestlings of the world, they can offer more money than the NWA can. That doesn't mean the NWA is bad. It just means it's not as likely that someone's going to stay here long term unless they're invested. Somebody like Nick Aldis or Colt Cabana. So we'll see. But I think at the very least we're going to have an exciting couple of weeks leading up to the pay-per-view. I'm not sure how they're going to work Marty into all of this, but I would venture to guess that the pay-per-view is going to headline Marty Scurll versus Nick Aldis. And I bet you more of their interactions will be on that 10 pounds of gold as opposed to the TV show NWA Power. More of your comments. Marty is in NWA short term. Stan, yep, I agree 100%. Elder Sauer says 24. I'm not sure what that means, Elder, but thank you for joining the show, man. I appreciate you being here. Lamb says, hey, Jason. Lamb, what's up, man? We've been talking all day. Terry says, people can relate to Ellsworth. He has faults just like the rest of us. True, but most of us don't get, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm thinking about saying it. I'm not going to say it. Willie says, will NWA Pro Wrestling will do matches? Yes. Oh, Elder, yes, you're right. The 24th for the pay-per-view, 25th and 26th for the TV tapings. So there you go, guys. Roughly about 6 weeks, if I'm doing the math right in my head, for TV. We're having the last pay-per-view on the 14th. Then there'll be 6 weeks of television leading up to the next pay-per-view, if I'm doing my math right. Stan says, it's getting confusing. Shouldn't Cabana get a title shot since he has the national title? Yes, but Stan, did you see the pay-per-view? I don't want to ruin anything for you, but we're kind of operating with the understanding that everyone's already seen the pay-per-view. Did you see it, Stan? I won't say anything more about it till I see you post something there. But there are some new additions to the roster, and well, now you make me feel like not talking about that stuff, Stan. Okay, so if you saw the pay-per-view, Stan, then you know that Colt lost the title, and okay, cool. So you know that Colt lost the title, and by losing the title, I don't know how that works. Like, yeah, he should have still gotten a shot at the champ, but maybe that window of opportunity closed. I'm not really sure, and it's kind of hard to decipher. A lot of what the NWA does is, I don't want to say it's negative, but like the way things go, they're telling different stories, right? Everybody has a story in the NWA. For example, Thunder Rosa has her story. And I talked to David Lagana about this. Now, my impression in the story was that Thunder Rosa was the bad guy. I thought Thunder Rosa was the heel because Thunder Rosa was the one who was, came out to attack Allison Kay, turned her friend against her. But what Lagana mentioned was something completely different. Lagana says that, well, maybe Thunder Rosa was just trying to be a good friend to Marty Bell because her friend just trashed her, and maybe she didn't like the way Allison Kay was walking around treating the rest of the roster, so that's why she took a stand up against her. And that's the I want to say confusing part, but maybe interesting part about the NWA is that there's layers to each character. And so far, this whole black and white, good guy, bad guy thing just doesn't exist in this world. It seems more like it's a multiple shades of gray. Looking back in the first couple of weeks of television, Josephus was crying about Tim Storm, and then wanted to make a challenge to James Storm, and then Colt Cabana came out dressed like James Storm, and honestly, that tactic, the way that Colt Cabana was behaving at that time, James Storm wasn't really a heel yet, and Colt Cabana was kind of mocking the cowboy. So it's really confusing. I'm sure the stories are going to be told, but we just have to kind of pay attention and go through each layer to see what's happening next. Let's see. NWA Pro Wrestling should be affiliated with All Japan Pro Wrestling. That's what Willie says. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I like the All Japan idea of affiliating with the NWA, but you don't have to sell the fans on it. You gotta have to sell All Japan on it. The whole thing about pro wrestling is, how can you bring value to the brand? How can you make it better? New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, they're all surviving without the National Wrestling Alliance. Not one of those companies have gone out of business since not working with the NWA. So how do you add value to it? And I think this is what they're doing right now. They're adding value daily. With New Japan having their shows now in the United States, more shows, and access to the American market on Access, it would behoove All Japan or Pro Wrestling Noah to actually try to work with the NWA and having some of their talents appear on television. Remember, a commitment to the NWA really means about 3 days. 3 days in Atlanta, Georgia. Pay-per-view, TV taping, done. If I were All Japan, or if I were Pro Wrestling Noah, and I'd want to make my stars seem more global and to have them get more international recognition, I'd certainly want to partner with Lagana and Corgan. I just think you have to kind of sell them on the value. Elder says All Japan didn't want to do business yet. And you know what? And it's kind of funny because if you guys are watching Tuesday with Jay on Instagram, if you guys on Instagram, hopefully you're watching it, I talk at length. Well, not at length, but I ask questions. I ask for NWA questions, so people hit me with NWA questions throughout the day. One of those questions was, did I think that Nick Aldis, our NWA World Heavyweight Champion, if he were going to defend the World Heavyweight Championship in New Japan? Now, I don't see that happening. I honestly don't. But what I do think is that there would be a fit in Japan for Nick Aldis to defend that title. And to me, I think the promotion to work with actually would be Pro Wrestling Noah for 2 reasons. Number one, the guys from Pro Wrestling Noah have worked with Nick Aldis in the past. You got to remember, this guy is a global honor champion, tag team champion with Samoa Joe, dating back to the days when he was Magnus in Impact. He already had that relationship in Pro Wrestling Noah. So basing that on, he has history with the company. What better way to come back to the company as a World's Heavyweight Championship? He could defend the title against the top stars of Pro Wrestling Noah, and in return, maybe those top stars of Pro Wrestling Noah could come to the United States and challenge, whoever wins the TV title, or whoever is the national champion, Aaron Stevens, or, the Rock and Roll Express, and win those tag titles. I think there's a lot of interesting things that could happen, but if it happens, who knows? We know that Lagana has said that the NWA is open for business. Billy Corgan said it famously. They'll work with anybody except Impact. So if they'll work with anybody, then I don't see why they wouldn't. DKM says very confusing. First of all, everybody, DKM, thank you for joining us, buddy. Miss you on the podcast. Yeah, it is confusing. And I mean, you and I have talked about this offline. There are many different layers, and how do you want to look at certain characters? We're only 10 weeks of television, or 9 weeks of television and a 2-hour pay-per-view. So they're still defining characters. Depending on the way you watch movies and TV shows, things could change very quickly and rapidly. Of course, with the success of Thunder Rosa and how she's kind of became a internet sensation, I don't see her being in the spotlight the way that she's portrayed for very long. And I also see, other parts moving around. So let me just drink some water real quick. So the other thing that's kind of exciting is that there's been some new roster additions. And I think they needed to make more roster additions because, of course, they're introducing the TV title. Well, let's talk about that first. Willie says Shimmer should be affiliated with NWA Pro Wrestling. Yeah, I mean, at some point, but he can work. Shimmer was kind of affiliated with Ring of Honor, with a lot of their talents kind of going back and forth. Dave Praserick, am I saying that right? I know, but that was years ago. Things change. Years ago, I used to think the NWA should have tried to have become affiliated with Women of Wrestling when they were starting to launch the TV show here on Access TV now. Working with the NWA at the time would have given them instant credibility. Of course, Santana Garrett was the women's champion, I believe, at the time. And her being a former NWA Women's Champion, it would have kind of all tied together perfectly, in my opinion. And even before that, ECCW in Canada used to be the NWA promotion. They used to, they would have a division called the Supergirls division. They did a lot of the women's wrestling, and I thought the NWA Women's Championship would be the perfect crown for that prize as well. But let's talk about the TV title. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you guys think about the addition of the television title? leave a message down here. I would love to read what your guys' thoughts are on that TV title, because I know a ton of people have been clamoring for the TV title, the U.S. title, the junior heavyweight championship. Somebody actually asked me that question today, and I think I haven't been a huge fan of adding more belts. I think with 4 weeks in a month, you have an opportunity to showcase each title every week. You can showcase the world's title, you can showcase the tag titles, the national title, and the women's championship every 4 weeks. And I'm not saying it has to be a strict formula, but every month you're cycling in a champion. I think adding one more championship makes that a little bit more difficult. In fact, I think it makes it kind of hard. And I don't know that bringing the TV title in this early was a good idea. And guys, I'm not telling you anything I wouldn't say to Dave Lagana. I think bringing in a championship this early is not a good move. However, what the NWA did do this past week is add a lot more guys and gals to the roster, which I think is going to benefit them by adding this extra championship into their division. I also think, and it's just Jay talking, but if I were running the NWA, I think at this point, the World's Heavyweight Championship probably wouldn't be defended on Power ever. Maybe once in a blue moon, but because they are running pay-per-views, and it seems like they're doing pay-per-views every 6 weeks, if that's the model going forward, they don't need to have the world's title on TV. Now, I'm not saying remove Nick Aldis from television, but I think I would focus the 10 pounds of gold and just literally have that follow Nick Aldis on his title defenses throughout the world. He defended that title in the UK so many times, defended the title in China, Australia, and all over the United States, is multiple defenses in Canada. I see now that becomes more compelling to me, and then you can have the TV title take the space of the world's heavyweight title, and once in a blue moon have the world title defended on TV, but not something that you'd have to do on a monthly basis. So now I'm going to check some more of your guys' comments. I hope you are enjoying the show so far. Stan says, too much history with the All Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah, I get that, and I don't have a problem. I really don't have a problem with either promotion. I see Lamb was mentioning there's a problem with Noah. I don't have a problem with the NWA working with All Japan instead of. I'm just pointing to the history of Nick Aldis and his time in Noah, and seeing that might be a good fit. But Lamb is quick to point out Noah and MLW are partnering with Impact, and we all know NWA doesn't want anything to do with Impact, so All Japan maybe. Yeah, okay. So, it doesn't change a whole lot. All Japan Pro Wrestling is still pretty good. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. They're going to be airing a full episode of their programming on YouTube this week. I don't have the details, but if I see them, I'll make sure to post it on the Twitter or Facebook, because I think that's really compelling, really interesting. Willie Bowen says, also Rob Conway, Adam Pearce, Matt Riviera, Satoshi Kojima, Hiroshi Tenzan, Mustang Mike, Chris Harris, Byron Wilcott should be a part of NWA Wrestling roster. Jack Staining Crimson too. Well, you're not going to see Adam Pearce, because Adam Pearce is currently under WWE contract. And unless some sort of crazy deal happens where the NWA and the WWE are all of a sudden working together, I wouldn't hold my breath for Adam Pearce to join the roster. Kojima and Tenzan both are a product of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and again, I don't see New Japan and the NWA working together anytime in the near future. We were lucky to have Kojima and I can't remember his partner's name. Blue Crush. I know you guys know it. Someone will say it. That worked the Crockett Cup, but I think that was more of a byproduct of their relationship with Ring of Honor and not so much the NWA. Mustang Mike, a lot of the champions from the old regime kind of did themselves a disservice with the way they handled the new regime, and I don't think you'll see certain wrestlers in the NWA going forward. Now, is that set in stone? But I don't think so. Chris Harris, are you talking about Wildcat Chris Harris? I don't even know if he's still wrestling. Byron Wilcott, I think, would be a great addition to the roster, actually. I know he still works for Main Event that used to be affiliated with the NWA. And yeah, I would love to see Byron Wilcott in the new NWA. Jack Stain and Crimson, for sure, man. I'm all about that. The War Kings, absolutely. Crimson's still recovering from an injury, and currently Jack Stain seems to be conquering Ohio Valley Wrestling, so we'll see. Captain Cat says, "Hey guys, I'm listening but not in chat much." Well, Captain Cat, thank you for checking us out and all the things you do to help the Alliance blog. I appreciate it. Terry says, "I would rather see a junior heavyweight championship over a TV title." You know, Terry, you're not the only one. Somebody actually asked me today about the junior heavyweight championship, and if we just look on the surface of the roster right now, just the surface of the roster, not looking for guys who used to be affiliated or guys who could easily become a part of, but just looking at the surface, I mean, you've got Caleb Conley, you've got Ricky Starks, who is amazing. I don't understand why the hesitation to bring a junior heavyweight championship back to the NWA, but if they're not going to do it, well, if they're going to bring back a TV champion, I don't see them bringing back a junior heavyweight champion anytime soon. Now that could change, you know. As I said earlier today, if a year ago you asked me if they were going to bring back the national title, I would have told you no. It doesn't make sense. But here we are with the national champion and soon to be TV champion. So clearly they have a plan, a 20-year plan, according to some. Let's see. Stan says, "If the national title is shown, why do we really need a TV title?" I mean, Stan, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Now, we're at a point now where there's your main title, the tag titles, and then you've got your women's championship, and then you've got 2 secondary titles. For 1 hour of TV every week, I don't know if that's necessary. I think they're going to have a plan, and I think it's going to, obviously they're going to do something with this, but I agree. I don't understand why the rush to bring the TV title back. 1 hour of television every week for 4 weeks, a 2-hour pay-per-view every month, just doesn't seem like there's enough wrestling to warrant a 4th or 5th title. Okay, so just reading your comments, guys. Captain Cat says not a fan. Lamb says great to have it back because the roster, but the thumbs up to have it back, thumbs down because the roster is not deep enough. Yeah, I feel you. Like, there are some additions to the roster that I'll get to in just a minute, but it's nothing groundbreaking, and again, I don't know if it warrants its own division. Boo on the TV title, plus the strap should be red. And DKM nails it. My biggest problem with the TV title is, if you're going to do this belt, if this is the belt we're going to bring back, then it needs to be on a red backing, a red leather belt. Screw this black leather stuff. Red is the way to go, and I fully support you on that one, DKM. Willie says, yes, NWA Pro Wrestling should have a TV title. Okay. Stan says we don't need a champion of the TV. Yeah, I'm not arguing with you on that one. Captain Cat says, hard to showcase the title with 1 hour a week of television. Exactly. If they wanted to make the if they wanted to make the national title less of a featured commodity and brought in the TV title, I'd get that. But as far as I know, it just seems like all the belts are going to be on TV all of the time, and they're just going to have to fight and figure out how they're going to make this work. So, I don't know. It seems confusing to me. You guys aren't alone in that. I don't see any addition by subtraction. Now, we do know that the NWA is planning to air more programming. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we're getting a new NWA showcase or a new NWA program. That kind of contradicts what I just said. The program that we're going to get is Circled Squared, which is more of a reality-based show. We've talked about it before. Those who were at the TV tapings saw some of the competitors that will be on that program. I'm not going to spoil any names. We're not going to get into details about that. But I don't think there's an opportunity to have a champion based off of that. And the TV title in and of itself, I think, would demand more time warranted to it than just Circle Squared. A couple more of your comments. One of the new wrestlers that tried out for the new TV show. Ron, I mean, you could be right, and that's not necessarily the worst idea ever, but the whole premise of whoever wins this circled squared competition is essentially going to be, I think, treated like a rookie. You know, when the WWE had their Tough Enough program, those guys got developmental deals that they got to be in NXT and got to train to become wrestlers. I know when Impact did theirs, not Tough Enough, but I forgot what it was called. Whenever they did their reality show competition, that was a part of the Impact television. It wasn't to become a main event or to get a title shot. It was to be, getting a contract from TNA. So I don't think that rewarding somebody who's a relative unknown with a TV title shot makes for compelling TV. It's not a horrible idea, but theoretically your TV champion or your national champion or whoever's holding a gold title for your promotion is supposed to be somebody who is the top of the game, and whoever challenges them should be someone who could theoretically beat them. Yeah, Captain Cat says no world title defenses for free, and that's, look, I don't know if that's the right answer, guys. I don't, but I think with the congestion that having so many titles on Power, let's put the 10 pounds of gold back to where it used to be, and have Lagana travel with or maybe not Lagana, maybe it's somebody else traveling with Nick to the UK, to Canada, to California, to wherever he goes, and documents that process of the 10 pounds of gold. That's what made the NWA get noticed, and I'm all for that. So we talked about the TV title, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys some of the names. Well, actually, I think these are all of the names that are scheduled to be part of the TV title tournament. I hope that's okay with you, Stan. I don't think I'm spoiling too much. I'm not giving any wins or losses, but just the names that have been announced. Well, not officially announced, but they'll be announced, I believe, tonight on TV. And that is Ricky Starks, who just had a very impressive showing at the pay-per-view. Came up short winning that the national championship. So he's somebody who I could see definitely taking advantage of this tournament and winning it. There's also Eddie Kingston, which I think is very interesting. I don't like the idea of breaking up a tag team because, Homicide and Kingston are one of the few tag teams that are actually in the NWA. But I think it gives us, allows Kingston to shine a little bit. The Question Mark, Thomas Latimer, Tim Storm, Zicky Dice, both Dawson brothers have been entered into the tournament. Trevor Murdoch, Colt Boom Boom Cabana, he recently lost the national title. If he were to win the TV title, Colt Cabana would be the first triple threat champion. What's the word I'm looking for? Of course, I don't have the name for it right now because I'm on being recorded live. But Colt Cabana could be the first guy to have all three titles on the program. I mean, he could win the tag titles and become a Grand Slam champion. But Colt Cabana, if he were to win the TV title, would be the first guy to hold all three belts for the company. Did I mention Caleb Conley? Also Zicky Dice, and your world's heavyweight champion Nick Aldis. I don't understand the appeal of trying to hold two titles. The 10 pounds of gold should be more than enough, but apparently that's the plan. So we'll see how that all pans out. And of course, tonight kicks off the first episode of NWA Power after the pay-per-view. So a lot of the stories are going to get set up, and we'll start figuring things out. Now, I should mention that the new roster, new additions to the roster, for the NWA Power, for the NWA, first and foremost, we have to mention Marty Scurll. the villain. I think he broke the internet. He certainly broke my TV, because if you guys were watching the pay-per-view and left the whole thing on, Marty joins Dave at the announce table, starts talking, and then the camera goes black. I wasn't sure if someone else was coming out to attack him, or if that was just a ploy for everyone to tune into Power this week. But Marty Scurll will have something to say that will be shown on into NWA Power from Into the Fire. So we'll see what that's going to be about. Of course, ODB made her debut in the Georgia Broadcasting Studios, as she was a part of the pay-per-view, teaming with Allison Kay to take on Marty Bell and Melina. So we'll see what kind of role she'll have going forward with the show. One of my old favorites, for you MLW fans out there who used to watch that program, or the old ECW, we're talking about C.W. Anderson, who was a part of the Hardcore Horsemen with Steve Corino back in the day. C.W. Anderson has... God, he's been around for a long time. He's kind of in that same boat as Trevor Murdoch, in that he's been around and has never really had a whole lot of spotlight. Now, Trevor Murdoch did make it to the WWE. He was a WWE Tag Team Champion, and certainly has had a more successful career. But C.W. Anderson in the NWA seems right to me, and I'm looking forward to it. And then also Zicky Dice. Now, Zicky Dice, I know, is a no-name to a lot of you guys. You've never heard of this guy before, and he's wild. He's going to be very interesting to see on NWA Power and how they use him. Now, if you've been watching Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for any amount of time, he's been on the show in the past. Zicky Dice has also been with freelance wrestling. The guy's traveled a lot. He's very hungry. That's one thing you have to say about Zicky Dice, whether you enjoy his wrestling or not. He's hungry. I've seen him wrestle all over the United States, the Dakotas, Iowa, North Carolina, California, both northern and southern California. The guy's gotten himself around. So hopefully the NWA knows what to do with him, and I think he kind of fits in with a little bit of a gimmick, a little bit of the goofiness, and we'll see what he can do in the ring. But again, I think the additions to the roster are really going to make this show more interesting. And if you're introducing a TV title, it's a great idea to have more guys on that roster. Now, again, there's only an hour every week, so I don't know where everyone fits in, but we'll have to wait and see. One more name that I forgot that I'm sorry, Stan, I hate to be the spoiler here, but Big Papa Pump is going to make his debut in Impact, or excuse me, not Impact. Whoa. Yeah, he's going to make an impact in the NWA. But we'll see how that's all going to play out. Now I'm going to go ahead and read some of your guys' comments. The reason, in my opinion, the TV title is there because of the 6:05 time limit. Sure, I get that, and that's something we didn't mention. The TV title matches are supposed to have a 6-minute and 5-second time limit, which is very tchotchke, but I think it's pretty cool to have that little around. Lamb says, if I remember correctly, the physical NWA Junior Heavyweight title is still used in a promotion on the indies overseas. Don't remember where. If you're thinking about the legendary Clover Championship, the Cloverleaf Championship, yes, 01 is using that title. They obtained that title in a nefarious way. Craig Classic, of all people, when he won the Junior Heavyweight title, he's the one that actually defeated Mike Quackenbush for the title. And he was setting himself up to have a really good reign, a very successful reign. And then when the Sheik decided to forfeit his title and keep the belt, which is another topic for another time, Craig Classic did the same thing. He forfeited his championship, but then he took the title to Japan and actually moved to Japan. That's where he started wrestling for 01 almost exclusively, and then was kind of forgotten about 6 months later. They still use the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title, the Cloverleaf edition, the one that was held by Tiger Mask, the one that was in the feud between Black Tiger Mask 4 and Tiger Mask 4. And that is still property of the NWA. I don't know how litigious Billy Corgan wants to be, and I don't know how how much they want to do in Japan in terms of trying to sue people, but that is actually property of the NWA, and it's a shame that I actually like that belt quite a bit, the Cloverleaf belt. I thought it had a lot of character. Some people call it ugly, and that's okay with me. I thought it was a really cool looking belt. So, more of your comments. Yes, Lamb, gut check. You're right. Willie says pro wrestling should never partner with the WWE because the McMahon family and Triple H tried to deplete NWA Pro Wrestling roster. They're a bunch of cutthroats. Of course they are. The McMahons have always been cutthroats. It's been happening since 1962, right? When they left the NWA back then. However, the WWE is the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet, and Triple H has an affinity for the National Wrestling Alliance. It's rumored that the title that Ric Flair used to wear sits in Triple H's office. They have a propensity for hiring former world champions. Currently working for WWE is, of course, Ron Killings, who's the 24/7 champion. Adam Pearce, who is a producer and agent for the show. Steve Corino, who works at the Performance Center. They respect the NWA. They're, when most fans think of the NWA and they want to think back to Jim Crockett Promotions, where can you see any of that stuff? The WWE Network. Not all of it, but a lot of that footage. Flair, Sting, Luger, Dusty, Harley. All that footage is back there. So it kind of... it's a double-edged sword. If you work with the WWE, are you taking a chance on the battle happen? Sure, but the NWA's done it before. Dan the Beast Severn, the Rock and Roll Express, Jeff Jarrett, they all appeared as members of the NWA back in 1998. So stranger things have happened. Captain Jack, Jay, what are you referring to about champions and the new regime of the NWA? Was any bridges burnt? Yes, lots of bridges were burnt. A lot of people were very, very unhappy with the way that ownership transitioned from Bruce Tharpe to Billy Corgan. I almost said Dave Lagana. Dave Lagana doesn't own the brand. In fact, for you guys who've been following the NWA for a while, you know that Bruce Tharpe essentially got control of the NWA because of a lawsuit. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Unfortunately, judiciary powers the way they were, there wasn't a whole lot they could do about it. So once the NWA's licenses and trademarks were transferred to Bruce Tharpe, the old regime was gone. So, Dave Marquez was no longer NWA Hollywood. He was Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. The promoters in the Northeast, like Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, were no longer affiliated with the NWA. The On Fire group, the same thing. In fact, all the old members were gone, and people would join the NWA as licensees. They paid to use the NWA name. They didn't own the brand. They didn't own the NWA. They were basically licensing it, much like you would if you wanted to open up your own McDonald's, right? You have to kind of follow the rules and administrations and conditions from the parent company. So the NWA was owned by Bruce Tharpe, Fred Rubenstein, and a guy by the name of Tony Brooklyn, whose real name I can't think of right now. Fast forward a few years of that regime, and it kind of fell apart. Towards the end, a lot of promises were made to a lot of talent. They kind of let the Asylum run the show. A lot of guys had a lot of liberties that they weren't willing to depart with. And Lagana's mentioned it before. One of the wrestlers, he had to require a police officer to get the property of the NWA back. There's a lot of threats of lawsuits. There were a lot of people trying to hold up Billy Corgan, Dave Lagana for more money. You notice how Tim Storm has appeared freely on on the NWA program, and he was always been treated with a great deal of respect and integrity. It's because that's the way he treated the NWA when the new ownership came. There's a reason why you haven't seen the guys from the past, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, so there's a rundown of the NWA, what's going on. Now, tonight we know that Marty's going to speak. One of the questions I was asked earlier today on Instagram was, did I think the NWA pay-per-view, 6 weeks from the previous pay-per-view, did I think that was too soon? And I honestly believe Marty has a window here. Like I said earlier in the show, I don't think he's long for the NWA. I think this is a short-term deal, much like you guys kind of already alluded to. So they're going to work this into a pay-per-view. And remember, the pay-per-views are what's basically funding the business right now. The television, there is no TV deal, so they're not getting paid to produce this show. And what they make on YouTube is not enough to sustain the brand. Now, sure, they're selling merchandise and they sell tickets to the shows, but they're not making the money to sustain the NWA. The pay-per-view is paying for the TV, is paying for the production costs associated with the TV. So you would imagine there's going to be more pay-per-views because that's the model that's going to sustain them. All Elite Wrestling doesn't have to do a pay-per-view every quarter because they have a backer who's going to pay for their show on Impact or on TNT. And I actually think that TNT eats some of those production costs. So, it's not the same model. So if it's up for the NWA, they're going to have to be on, YouTube until they get an actual TV deal. And maybe that never comes, but if that never comes, then it makes sense to keep doing these pay-per-views. And even if it's only $20 a pay-per-view, $25 a pay-per-view, by buying the show, by supporting the brand, you're helping to keep the NWA on YouTube, that barrier of entry. So let me get some water here real quick. How's everyone else doing? I was supposed to get a tattoo today, and my guy canceled on me, so I'm not getting an extra tattoo today. So thoughts on the pay-per-view. What did you guys think? I mean, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see a bigger deal in the main event. Triple Crown. Right, Stan, Triple Crown. How did I mess that up? I have a poor connection here. Are you guys seeing me in real time, or am I stalling a lot? I need better internet. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed that the main event didn't have more controversy. And I guess that's crazy, right? Because you're always looking for that clean finish. But, Camille came out and she hey, Jason, you're a little late, but welcome to the party, pal. DKM says the original purpose of the TV was to have the title regularly defended on TV. Other titles were not, to help get younger, newer guys over and put over a veteran gatekeeper in place. That makes perfect sense, DK. The problem is you could have done that with the national title. And I know that it's not the same. See, you guys are putting up a lot of comments, or just jumping up on my screen, so I'm just kind of wondering, am I frozen? Are you guys seeing me throughout this whole thing? Anyways, the national title was invented. The national title was brought back to have a secondary title in place. That national title could have been used in any way, shape, or form. It could have been used as a gatekeeper. They just chose not to. So we'll see how it works out. Let's see. Impact. Lamb laughs at Impact, and Captain Cat says Impact rules. There was a point in time where I loved Impact Wrestling, but that was when it was associated with the NWA. And one of my favorite moments of the whole program was with Samoa Joe. Came out with that X Division title and just bumped into Jeff Jarrett and just threw Jeff Jarrett into a hissy fit. And he kind of got all scared because Joe was the man, and eventually Joe would win the title, but just not the NWA World's title. More comments. Willie says NWA Pro Wrestling should get all the NWA Pro Wrestling TV shows. Do you mean the libraries, Willie? Because I don't see the WWE letting go of the library that they have. A lot of people are tuned into that network specifically for those Jim Crockett videos. I don't see them letting that go. That's an added value for the WWE. Ron says, doing good, ham and mashed potato kind of night. Yeah, baby, we did ham and mashed potatoes last night for dinner. My wife made potato soup. It was delicious. Stan says, Melina didn't have enough ring time. Ending with Aldis wasn't good. Melina. I've never been a huge fan of Melina. I'm not sure how much value she brings to the brand. I know David Logano was very excited that she was part of the show. Personally, I didn't think she was very good. And, well, we're going to see. She's supposed to be having, I think she has a match tonight. And if not tonight, it'll be on next week's TV. But if the plan is to put the title on Melina, they really have to do a lot to sell me on it. Because as of right now, I think right now the class is Thunder Rosa 1, Allison Kay 2, and then there's everyone else. I'm not impressed. It was great. 2 hours was not enough to have a great event. Or was enough, excuse me. They made the fans care about character. Every character. Okay, so thank you, Lamb. Thank you, DCam. I just feel like maybe these comments are coming in a little bit later, so I thought maybe something was going wrong. I sat there and watched the show. My 6-year-old lost interest after the second match, but I watched everything. I really think they did a great job with Aaron Stevens, not because I predicted he would win the title on the Alliance Guys podcast, but because he's supposed to be a chicken shit heel. Nobody's supposed to like Aaron Stevens. He's the only guy on the entire show that point blank, that guy is a heel. And I think with Aaron Stevens being the heel that he is, and causing a lot of chaos, and hiding behind a Christmas tree, or just letting Colt and Ricky Starks battle it out, was brilliant. The strategy is great. Now, I had friends who said, well, wait, that guy only has, he doesn't have a single win on NWA POWERRR, or he only has one win. And yes, but he's also a heel. He's not supposed to be the best wrestler on the show. He's not supposed to be the best guy on the show. He's supposed to be the smartest guy on the show. And if you're telling me right now there's anyone smarter than Aaron Stevens, partnering himself with a question mark to get over, and then still being that chicken shit heel, I'm becoming more enamored with Aaron Stevens week after week. And the fact that he's the national champion, that gives way to a new chase. We don't know if that's going to be Ricky Starks. I don't know if it's going to be Colt Cabana. I don't know if it's going to be Trevor Murdoch. I don't know who's going to chase for that national championship. I guess the story will be told here on NWA POWERRR in just in about 20 minutes. Better wrap this up soon. 10 minutes. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I love Aaron Stevens. I think he's probably one of my MVPs for the show right now. DCam says he's against the TV title. I know, buddy. I know. I'm torn with the TV title. I am. I like the concept. I love the belt. Especially if it was on red leather, I'd definitely love that belt a lot more. But it seems like it's going to happen whether I want it to or not. They've got a tournament announced that we kind of announced some of the names for. What the plan is, I don't know. But I think it was too soon for the TV title. I think the TV title is something you introduce when you start going 2 hours of TV. But that's not the case. So maybe, I said the world title should be the title that's not on POWERRR anymore, but maybe it's the national title. Maybe the national title should be more of a traveling championship. It can be showcased on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona, the soon-to-be aforementioned Silver State Wrestling, maybe Freelance Wrestling. Who knows? I don't really know what the plan is. Maybe there isn't a plan, or maybe there is, and I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. But guys, it is 2:55. Can you believe we've been doing this for an hour? Or 50 minutes, I guess. I think we're going to end it right now. I think we're going to end the show so that you guys can go use the bathroom, get a soda, and tune into NWA POWERRR. I genuinely appreciate you guys checking this out every week. You guys pump me up. You build me up. I love it. I know there's 15 people in the room watching. And again, you guys are awesome. I can't believe the support you guys show me. You guys keep watching this show, I'll keep doing it. I'm having a lot of fun. So until next time. Oh wait, Ron's got something. I don't know. I like Will Alday as TV champion at Reality Wrestling. Maybe NWA TV champ can go take the belt on the road too. And Ron doesn't like Melina. I don't like Melina either. And yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll unify a Triple Crown TV champion. We'll take the Hollywood, the United Wrestling Network TV champion, the Reality Wrestling TV champion, and the NWA TV champion be one guy. That'd be kind of cool. Captain Cat says, I looked up and there was about 6 different TV shows in the 80s with matches airing on TV. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up. We're going to cut the show now. Thank you again for tuning in. Look forward to the Alliance Guys podcast, probably dropping on Friday morning. If you could, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the program. Leave a comment. Tell me what you'd like to see different or better. This was a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. Make sure you visit that website for all your news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Follow us on Instagram at TheAllianceBlog. I really need the followers, guys. Please. I'm begging you. I got like 300 followers. I need 1,000. 1,000. That's my goal. Help me get there. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, TikTok. I'm doing a lot of fun stuff on TikTok. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I am, but if you guys are up to watching something different, check us out on TikTok. And that's going to do it for us. So until next time, everybody, I'll see you at the matches. And let's go watch Power. If I can figure out how to end this thing. There it is. Bye, guys. Hey, guys, thanks for watching. Some of you guys stayed and some of you didn't. Bye.